Hey everybody, welcome to this month's edition of Civil Engineering Today. Today we're bringing back a guest that we've had once before, but it was a long time ago. And it's a little bit of a follow-up one. And we have Rich Matson, who is, he actually works with me at AECOM. But we've got a little bit of a story of how we got there. And this is a good story that can explain how you can transition from having no clue what an engineer is. Go along with that? No clue whatsoever when you were like a junior in high school?
Something like that.
Something like that, to eventually now working at an engineering company, and we'll follow the path, and we'll talk about some of the things he's doing. He's still not done with his career progression. He's a young engineer. He's been working for a whopping total of how long?
Working in engineering?
No, with us, real hire.
Oh, with you? About a year total combined.
Yeah, that's at
3 months as a real engineer.
3 months, okay. So for 3 months he's been working with us, and so we're not going to talk work talk. We're going to talk about other things. And so Rich, we're going to start at the beginning. When you were a junior in high school, I know this is like a part of your life that is a little different than the engineering life.
Sure.
But so how many jobs were you carrying back then?
Okay, when I was a junior in high school, my family was going through a lot of financial hardships. They actually claimed bankruptcy that year, so I was working 3 jobs while working for my father on top of it. And at the same time trying to apply my, looking into schools and playing some varsity sports, so I was pretty busy. Often you can find me sleeping on the table at 2 in the afternoon just for a half hour, and then going to practice and then work after that. So it was pretty hectic.
So your family, how many people before in your family went to college?
None. I would be the first.
Right. So what was your draw? I mean, how did you know that you really wanted to step away from, not be different and go to college?
I was just kind of sick and tired of having to work all the time, paycheck to paycheck, and not really seeing anything in my savings. So I really wanted to apply myself, go to college, get a good job, and then watch that savings grow. So
yeah. So your first experience with engineering, I was lucky enough to see some of it. What was the story?
With AECOM?
No, way back when you went to the summer transportation institute.
Oh, with the summer camp. So actually, Rita and I have known each other for about 6 years now, give or take. I started off when I was a junior in high school. There was this Summer Transportation Institute program at Merrimack College. They offer it every summer, and it was a month-long program. It was free, and it was, we got to stay there overnight and get exposed to a bunch of different careers in engineering, transportation, all sorts of things. And it consisted of a bunch of different workshops and some field trips to some other engineering companies or some of the training facilities that they have in Massachusetts and New Hampshire.
Yeah, so this is a program, I've known this program, well, obviously for a long time, and I volunteer every summer helping out with this program, and the beauty in it is that there's one at UMass Boston, and it's a day program, and it's a little bit different than the one at Merrimack College, which is actually more like an overnight camp. You go, you don't go on the weekends, right?
Do
you?
No, we don't do anything on the weekends. They try to send people home, but if you have a situation, if you're like from out of state, you can stay there on the weekends.
So it really is like a summer camp for the entire month of July. And the price was?
Free.
Which is a good price.
In fact, they even gave us food, so everything was included.
It's funny. We've got programs that are totally free, and hopefully people watching this show, if you go to the website www.engineeryourfuture.org, we post up links to programs like the including the Summer Transportation Institute. These are free programs, and we'd like to say that we get an overwhelming amount of applicants. And some years we get way more than, I shouldn't say we, I'm not actually the person involved. I volunteer for a couple of days at it. But at each of the programs, they don't always overflood, and this is a great introduction to engineering, and not just engineering. This was actually, maybe Merrimack is very engineer focused, but I know the UMass Boston one, it's a little more open to all aspects of engineering. Not everybody involved in engineering is I mean, in transportation, not everybody involved in transportation is an engineer or even close to it. They explore more the other directions more, but still it ends up being very focused on how the whole system works, which generally tends to tie into engineering. But the program, so coming into it, how did you, I mean, you found out, this is the first time you really found out what an engineer was?
That's right. That was a starting point for me. I knew I liked math and physics and chemistry. I didn't really know what I wanted to apply myself for college. And then found out about this program, really got to know the civil engineering department. And then, so certainly, yes, that was the starting point for me.
Right. So then I went over there and I worked a couple days with the, you know, we made model bridges and things like that. And then the next year I come back and I see you again. So what's the story? What was the process in between? Why were you back there?
When I first went, I went as a student. Second year come around, I actually volunteered that summer and as a junior counselor. Actually, at that point, I was admitted into Merrimack. It was between my senior year of high school and freshman year of college. So I was just trying to give back to what they gave to me, another opportunity to help some of these other students come in there. And then I kept on being a counselor for a few more years after that, eventually working my way up to head counselor. But I mean, the program is so much fun. You get to meet so many different people, the students, the networking with the professionals, the professors. I mean, you meet so many people and you try to keep them all together. I still talk to some of my friends from that back in 2005.
Right.
So it's certainly great way to get involved and to learn about civil engineering. And
right. And one thing I mean, anybody watching TV right now should be able to figure this out. Rich isn't shy.
Yeah.
He's maybe one of the most outgoing people you could ever meet, and that plays a big factor in how he's, you know, been successful, and it just shows it just pays off. I know a lot of people think of engineers as being not very outgoing people. It's one of the stereotypes that the whole engineering profession battles, but actually being outgoing is the whole nature of it. You got the word civil, and the word civil means, you know, communities, and it's talking and figuring out what your community needs and making your community better. So when outgoing people do go towards civil engineering as a career, it works out really well. So if you have that stereotype in your head that engineers are, you know, these people that sit behind computers all day and don't want to talk to anybody and can't communicate, you got the picture all wrong, because I want you just to hang around with Rich for a little while and you'll see it's not like that at all. Agree with that one?
I agree. I still play sport. I play a lot of basketball, flag football, volleyball. I mean, stay active and then do a lot of volunteer work in the community. So try to help some of the younger kids. You know, you do get some of that, you know, you can get a job if you want to be behind the desk, but in my experience, the most part, I'd say 80% of the engineers I see are very outgoing and out there and having fun and enjoying their jobs. So.
I think it's really true.
It's a preference. You
Yeah.
can do whatever you want. So.
Right. It's a wide open. It's such a vaguely termed field. It could be almost anything. And you know, maybe there's a process that's called engineering, but not everybody does every step of that process. You do the parts that you like. I like being outdoors, so I stay outdoors as much as I humanly can. You like being outdoors.
I like being outdoors.
So, I mean, just today, you know, we work together, and today we were just out inspecting a bridge earlier today. I was inspecting a tunnel last night.
Yeah.
You'll be inspecting a tunnel tonight.
And back on the bridges on the weekend. So.
Right, on the weekend we're back on the bridges.
Yeah.
But another thing is, it's definitely a field that's not slow. Every day is. Let's get back. I don't have to sing the praises of civil engineering, but okay. So you came back as a counselor for several years, and then meanwhile, I was getting to know you pretty well. So I really wanted to get you on board as a co-op, and over at Merrimack, you guys took like how long? It was like 6 months.
For the co-op program?
Was it 9 months?
It was 9 months I worked.
9-month long co-op, which is is a long co-op. I mean, I almost forgot that you weren't a permanent. It was like heartbreaking when you actually had to go back to school, because I was kind of thinking you were, you were always there. And then all of a sudden you had to go. I was like, what? I thought he worked here. But anyway, so once you came on, that's the nice thing about a co-op program, and a whole bunch of the schools have the co-op program around here. Well, not a whole bunch, but actually Merrimack has it, Northeastern has it, Wentworth has it, and other schools really try to help you along. In the summertime, we try to bring in students from the colleges that don't have co-ops as much as we can, trying to get work experience for as many students as possible. I think it's a really important part of work is the whole co-op experience. What do you think? Tell me a little bit about what your feelings are on the whole co-op.
I think it's a great opportunity that maybe not a lot of people really know about or want to do, because it takes 5 years to graduate rather than 4. But honestly, that extra year, it goes by so quick. Like you get a chance to work on some long-term projects with companies. I did my first co-op at an engineering firm in Cambridge, and I did the second one with you in Boston. And combined experience, I had 1.5 years. And not many people can say that while they're in school full-time, to be able to work that much and the amount of projects I got put on. Whereas if you're doing just an internship for 3 months, you're only there for a short period of time. Still getting an experience, especially for the schools that don't have co-op, but for the ones that have it, I definitely take full advantage of the co-op program.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, I'm hearing people at Northeastern, students I'm talking to, not doing the co-op program, and I'm like, why would you do that to yourself? I mean, you got that opportunity. It's such a great program. I mean, I know it's been a little bit harder to find great jobs because the economy hasn't been doing great with the co-ops, but still, if you do find a job, I mean, my experience, I have really loved almost every co-op that I've had. It's I stay in touch with pretty much all of them, and almost all of them, have it in my mind to hire if I ever get the opportunity. Right. So the advantage of it is something huge, and it worked out.
Right. Plus, you're going to school and you're trying to work towards getting a job. So if you have the job, it's a no-brainer. Just keep working.
Right. Plus, you get the experience that if you do a co-op and you really don't like it, then hey, now you know that's not else. You didn't put all your eggs in one basket on what you thought was your dream job. You get your dream job and you hate it. At least you've had a little bit of a sample, which is another reason not to maybe. Some students stick with the same work all the time, and if you love what you're doing, I mean, you say it every day. That's like one of your most common things is like if you love your work.
It's not work.
It's not work, right.
It's fun.
So, but, hey, if you think you're going to love it and you don't love it, don't go back to the same thing. And if you do love what you did the first time and you don't want to sample around, there's nothing better than coming back to the same co-op spot again, because the experience that second time you come, nobody's thinking of you as a co-op anymore. Everybody's thinking of you as one of the team.
And that's the best thing about co-ops and internships is there's no contract with it. You work there for either 3 to 6 months, and if you don't like it, you don't have to go back. You can do something else. The next time around, you get like 3 or 4 summers to do different jobs.
Right.
So you have that flexibility to try different companies out. Hopefully you'll get one that clicks and things work out for you in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, I know students coming out of top schools in the country like Cornell, and it's hard to find work. We're not naming anybody specific or anything. but it's very tough, and she might be one of the smartest people we've ever seen. So the advantage of that is something big. So you aren't done with school. You're still going strong in the school world. What are you up to now?
Right now, well, working full-time with you, Monday through Friday, sometimes the weekends, this weekend. Typically just Monday through Friday.
And if you weren't working there, you still haven't given out one of your side jobs.
I know. Well, I also work a side job. I work at a country club out in Concord, Massachusetts, and been waiting tables for about 6 years now, going on 7. But pretty soon it's just going to be here. I'm not going to work there anymore. So I'm also going for my master's right now, part-time. I'm taking 2 classes. They're after work on Tuesday, Thursdays at Tufts University. And so far they're going well. We're about halfway through the semester. So, you know, we'll hopefully keep that going for the next couple of years, get my master's, and if I'm ambitious, maybe I'll go for my MBA later on, but I don't need to rush into that.
No, I was watching you go through the whole struggle of, I mean, that's something that's very, very expensive to take on, and you're going to get a lot more student loans on it. Want to tell a little about like what was going on in your head when you were in the process of applying?
Yeah, well, initially when I was applying for schools, I was trying to get a research or a TA position, in which case if you get one of those, the school will pay you to go to school rather than you paying them. Typically they're only offered for like master or PhD students. But so I actually did have a full offer at UMass Lowell, and I actually turned it down to go to Tufts, in which case they only offered me a small portion of a scholarship. And I didn't have a job at that point, but I wanted to move closer to the city, Boston, and in hopes of getting a job. And then eventually I did get a job, so actually it worked out. And now the company is helping pay for a portion of my school. But by going part-time, it doesn't cost as much because it takes longer to do it. So over time, I'm getting about half of it paid for through the company, which is pretty nice.
And that's something, that's another thing to think about is, you know, a lot of companies do pay. It's not just AECOM, it's a whole bunch of companies that do pay for that graduate school. And that's something to weigh when you're thinking of continuing on, if you're going to want to continue instead of going full-time, going part-time, taking on a full-time job and taking that benefit. You got to really do out the pros and cons and make sure it's going to work for you. But it's really working so far.
So far, things, going very well.
I think you're sleeping sometime.
I sleep sometimes. No, I get about my 6 hours a night. That's usually all I need.
How do you do that? I don't get 6.
No, he gets about 1 or 2 if he's lucky. So
don't tell my wife.
Okay.
No. But that is all part of the process that you can go through, and this is one of the possible paths to becoming not just an engineer. It's actually something that in any field that the co-op programs can bring you in, and then when you start working, I know in the civil engineering field it didn't used to be that the master's was so important. It was a very, almost secondary thing. Your education would keep on going because you'd always be taking some kind of courses and seminars, but there was no real requirements. But now around the country, it's really getting to be a requirement. And not only that, the market's gotten so much more competitive. It seems like almost everybody graduating is trying to get their master's as soon as possible because it can really affect your career. And I know that's not just in civil engineering. And if you look at being a doctor or being a lawyer or being, further schooling is absolutely mandatory right away. Architect, so many fields you have to go on right away. In engineering, it's not maybe so totally mandatory, but it certainly seems. Was that part of why you wanted to go on?
Well, there's a lot of benefits that go with it. I mean, I'm only 24 and I've already got my bachelor's, got a job, on to my master's right now. And as for an engineer, there's some exams that you need to take, and they require a minimum of your bachelor's degree in addition to work experience. And right now I'm working towards these. It's a professional engineer's exam. And hopefully by the time I'm 28, I can take that. And once you apply yourself towards that and you pass it, then you can, really kick off your career with a good salary and, take on a lot more responsibility.
Right. Until you get that, it's not obvious that it really limits you, but it totally limits you.
Right.
I mean, you feel like you're doing the same work as everybody else, and then all of a sudden you realize that, they're saying, well, if you want to move up and you want to get a bigger, you really got to take that test. Because you can't be responsible for a project. You can't be a project manager until you got it.
And I mean, you can do a lot with just the bachelor's for the undergrad, but if you really want to move up in the company, I really feel that you need at least, a master's in there or an MBA, one or the other. But I mean, I'd definitely shoot for your master's and try to get in a field that you like. Like I like structural engineering, you like, so that's what I'm going for. But you might be like a geotech engineer and want to go towards that, or wastewater, or environmental water resources, or whatever it might be. Definitely, that's you know, the best part about civil engineering as an undergrad is you get to learn about all the different aspects of engineering. You get to see which one you like the most, and then you just go for it. And
we actually probably get more experience seeing what the electricals and mechanicals and chemicals, because civil engineering doesn't name anything like that. It's a very vague word. It means communities. It doesn't tie towards any kind of technical skill. It's a very, so it involves, I mean, I've designed, you know, a motor system for a moving bridge. I've, you know, I've done all kinds of work that would apply. If you looked at it technically, it would be considered a mechanical engineering work, or, you know, electrical engineering work. But civil, you can do almost any type. There's
almost no limitations to what we can do. We can do just about whatever we want. For the most part.
Now, I want to spell out one thing. I want to make sure we catch it. A lot of times people think, well, you know, I'm just interviewing you. You're like some genius type that's, you know, always had unbelievable grades, and of course you get into any program you want. I know this is like personal, and I shouldn't dig like that, but hey, why not?
I tell the story all the time.
Yeah, but anyway, your grades in high school, what were they like?
They weren't great. As we talked about earlier, I had a lot of hard times going on in high school, and I was very busy, and honestly, schoolwork was the least of my worries. So I wasn't the best student in high school. I did okay, but I'll tell you, I got a 2.8 coming out of high school, and that got me into, you know, a couple of universities and private college. So I ended up, you know, jumping on to Merrimack College after that. I came out barely with the 3.0. 3.0 is actually decent, but again, it's not great. But I had to work my way through college as well.
Right.
So it was very tough. You know, I put myself through college, having to take on a lot more loans, working 2 jobs throughout school.
And I want to spell out like that. At least I don't know if it does with everybody going through the hiring process, but when I see someone that worked like you worked, it really did put that I was way less concerned about the grades, because I knew the amount of work you had to put in, and I was trying to figure, wow, you're really putting effort in. And an employee, to me anyway, it seems way more important that you're working with people that are energetic and enthusiastic and wanting to put in effort. And I know you've got the brains to back it up. I'm watching you actually in one of the tougher master's programs that anybody's ever heard of. You're not having a very hard time with it. I mean, you're working really hard, but you're doing fine.
Well, once you find what you like to do, it's relatively not.
Right.
Just got to put in the time. That's all.
Right, that's all it is. So I know that we're running out of time, and I've got some plugs to do. So
sure.
It
was a pleasure having you.
It's a pleasure. Like you're going anywhere. Like I'll see you tomorrow.
I know. I'll see you tomorrow.
But I want to make a couple of plugs. That it is on Thursday, October 20th. It's what we call the kickoff for the Model Bridge Contest and for Future City competition. The Future City competition for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, you design the city of the future, then you tie it backwards, trying to make it real, explaining what happens when people in your city flush the toilet, how do you, if you live at the bottom of the ocean, how are people going to breathe? All kinds of questions like that. Kickoff of that. At the same time, we unveil the mystery ingredients that are going to make up our model bridges for this year. And that competition is going to be on February 4th. Northeastern University, February 4th. www.engineeryourfuture.org will get you to the website that tells you all about it. And you've got until the end of the month to register for Future City. And get in soon for Model Bridge. If you get in by the 20th, you'll be there right from the start. And thank you very much, everybody. And I will see you on the next Civil Engineering Today next month.